Hi everyone. So as most of you probably know, I try to write a blog about every month for something that I've learned that month or something that I've experienced. And so over the last month, my life has almost 100% consisted of learning about a new-ish program called D4D or Discipleship for Development. And I've been sharing a little bit about it on my prayer letters and things, but I think I've been really challenged about sharing with my supporters and people back home about what we're doing, why we're doing it, and just giving you a little bit more insight and detail. I think it's really important for you guys to understand what it is that you're supporting and what it is that you're praying for every month. I've been really struggling to translate what I've been learning into blog format. I think if these concepts could be written easily into blogs, then they would have been already, and I could just steal off of them. But because they haven't been, I thought that maybe a video blog would be the best route to better explain what it is that I've been learning. So for this specific video blog, we're going to be going through two major concepts. The first of which is going to be helping ourselves to better identify poverty and its complexities. And then, secondly, to elaborate a little bit further on that, the relationships that are associated and essentially define poverty. So, to start with, I just wanted to kind of take a moment and have you guys think to yourselves about how you define poverty. Now, for most of you, what probably came to mind was something along the lines of lacking material goods, lacking necessary food and nutrition, whatever it is that you thought of. And there's nothing wrong with that definition. I've just been learning so much in how I define poverty, how I define the poor that I'm working with, my own attitude and perspectives towards poverty and the poor. And so I just really want to take the time to share. So it'll probably be about a 4-month long video blog series, whatever you want to call it, each month going through a new lesson within the Discipleship for Development curriculum. So for this month specifically, I wanted to focus on two primary goals. So the first one will be kind of looking at the complexities of poverty, and then the second one will look at the relationships involved in poverty. So to start with, one of the exercises that they've been having us do in a couple of the classes that I've been taking is essentially looking at an example of something that happens because of poverty and identifying some of the reasons behind how something like that can happen. So take a look at this chart. Basically, what the scenario is that a 3-year-old child in the community has died from diarrhea, and I want you to help me identify what could the potential causes have been that allowed for her to die. Think to yourself for a minute what you think could have potentially caused this kind of thing to happen, and then we'll go through it together. So some of the ones that we've come up with in our class are things like spiritual attacks, lack of a hospital, no access to clean water, receiving the wrong medication or self-medication, malnutrition, religious beliefs such as going to a quack doctor or a witch doctor, no transportation, poor hygiene, ignorance of the parents, poverty, or neglect. Now, this is obviously not an all-encompassing. There could have been other issues that could lead to the death of a 3-year-old, but these were kind of the main themes that we came up with in our class. So I want you to look at this and think about how these problems could potentially be interconnected. So what problems are related to each other? So for example, no transportation can probably be linked with poverty if they don't have the money to buy transportation or pay for transportation. An example would be with dirty water, and perhaps poor hygiene could be linked, and malnutrition with ignorance or neglect. You could link religious beliefs with ignorance as well. An example here in the Philippines is they have quack doctors, which offer no medical insight. Another example with the wrong medication, that could be self-medication if they think that they know what the problem is. It could also be just due to lack of the hospital. So as you can see, a lot of these problems are interconnected. Now I want you to think about if you can come up with one single solution that could potentially address all of these issues. Now my assumption is that you couldn't think of one in the 2 seconds that I gave you. If she had died due to lack of access to a hospital, she still could have died from poor hygiene. If she had access to transportation to get to a hospital, she still could have died from malnutrition. So as you see, there's so many complexities within this web that there's really no surefire way to solve this issue. The point of this exercise is just to point out that it's not a one solution fixes all approach. Now, the second thing I wanted to go over was both in the curriculum that I've been learning about in my online classes and in the classes that I've been taking here in the Philippines, but it's also been in the book that many of you have probably heard me talk about called When Helping Hurts. Now, in this book, one of the identifying marks that the author makes about poverty is that it can be caused and can be related back to the initial breakdown of our 4 relationships. Before the fall in Genesis, when God created the world, all 4 of those relationships were in perfect harmony or were in shalom. And when the fall happened, we broke all 4 of those relationships. So our relationship with God was cut off, our relationship with our community was cut, our relationship with ourselves was cut off, as well as our relationship with the environment. Everything broke down, basically. And so that's another good way if you're thinking about poverty in terms of looking at it as a holistic issue, that it's not just someone's relationship with money or someone's relationship with food or whatever it is you identify poverty as. But for someone to be poor, you really have to think about it in terms of all 4 of those relationships. So if you're going to try to work with poverty, you have to be able to work within all 4 of those relationships. And so that's why with the D4D or Discipleship for Development format, we focus on what we call holistic ministry, meaning that it's not just Bible study, but it's also not just programs of here's food, here's a class on hygiene, or whatever it is that a lot of nonprofit organizations do in terms of programs. But it's looking at them as wholly broken people, as we are ourselves, and trying to help them overcome that brokenness. So we want to be able to look at the relationship they have with God. So yes, Bible studies and such are involved. We also want to try to look at how they view themselves, their relationship with themselves. So often in poor communities, there's such a sense of shame and embarrassment associated with being poor that their identity is just broken. And so to really help them redefine themselves outside of their poverty is a huge step in the right direction. The third being their relationship with others, especially within my context here, our relationship with the community that we have. It just seems really important to help them fix the relationships they have with others, whether that's working well together, that's, helping them build integrity with each other and just establish better, healthy relationships within their community and within their friends and family. And then lastly, their relationship with creation, being that whether that's farming and agriculture, whether that's picking up the trash, whatever it is, it's teaching them to be better stewards of God's creation. And so that's what D4D is looking at. They want to be, I've said this word several times at this point, but holistic. They want to look at the entire picture, not just at one of the single issues. And so, like I said, this is so much more complicated than I can fit in a 10-minute long vlog video. And so I'm hoping if I can break these up little by little within the next 4 months, you still may not know every detail of what I'm learning, but I think it'll really help get a better grasp of not only the importance of our work, but what we're doing, how we're doing it, why we're doing it. So that way if whether you're praying for me, whether you're praying for the community here, you can just get a better idea of what is going on and what we're all trying to strive towards. I think so often if I was supporting a missionary back home and someone asked me what they did, I would just say, they work with the poor, and I really wouldn't know any more specifics other than that. And that's just not good. I think that senders are as much a part of this ministry as I am, and I wouldn't be here without you. And I've really seen the power of having a good support system back home. I just happen to be the one living in year-long summer. So if you have any questions, if you just want to chat about anything that I've talked about, I love it. I love every minute of talking about this stuff. What I've learned this month has really just blown my mind. And so the opportunity to talk and share that radical change is the best thing I could ask for. Otherwise, stay tuned, keep in touch. Hopefully you guys are excited for next month, where we can look a little bit more into the empowerment side. Now that we've kind of looked at the complexities of poverty and the need for a holistic approach, I think next month maybe we'll start looking at what empowerment means, how it can be applied to communities, and why it's so crucial that that's the direction that we take. All right, I will see you next month.